CQ Photo. I've done some work on my antennas. Let's take a look. So the last week we had a very severe windstorm come in, and the DX Titan took a little damage. The Titan DX, I should say, the gap antenna, it kinked the pole. It was blowing over so hard that the pole kinked a little bit at the base, right where it clamps to the pole mounts. Luckily, I came out here in the horrible wind and pulled the antenna out and dropped it to the ground. Almost broke it when it hit the ground. Almost did more damage because it was so unwieldy and it's so windy. But I got it back up. As you can see, I've been doing more work in here, clearing out more brush and doing other stuff. You can see once we go in here, it looks a lot different. So my guy lines came in, and I have the guy lines tied up at the top of the mast. There's 4 up there. I ordered some mast strength wire or rope, and I based it on the pound braking strength that it was, and I got one that was 220 pounds braking strength. And I'm thinking, well, geez, the antenna only weighs 24 pounds. That should be more than enough. But this cord, I really didn't pay attention to the size, but it is 2 millimeters. This is it, and it's 220 pounds. Now, I tied a piece of this to the bumper, the hitch on my truck, and tied to it and tried to pull on this and break it, and I couldn't break it. So it's pretty tough, but it might be good. Here's what I'm thinking. Since this is all in the woods and stuff still falls out of the trees out here, if a big branch falls and lands on one of those guys, I'd kind of like that guy to snap or break off before it pulls the antenna down. So but as you can see, I don't know if you remember, this was all vines and stuff stacked up high. You couldn't even see out here. You couldn't walk through here. As you can see, I have another end fed right there going up into the top of that tree. That one is cut for 10 through 40, and I just got it tuned just about perfect. Made I don't know how many trips in and out of the house, checking the analyzer and coming out and trimming a little off, and but it's good now. This antenna is tuned really well too. I'm really happy. Things are going to actually use this antenna this afternoon to download the Amron AIB, which is the Amron weekly Amron intelligence brief. Just a little message on digital, but it's kind of neat to keep in touch with what's going on in the world and know that there are means to get information if something ever would happen. But yeah, so more in here. I still want to get this pile of brush out of there and all that stuff out of there, so that will have to be done yet, and still some more up here. But and I want to clean up my weatherproofing. I did that because I knew I'd be taking that off and back on, so I just put a bag on there and wrapped it. It's better than nothing, I know, and I'll wrap it properly. All my other connections I wrap properly with good electrical tape, the 3M rubberized tape, and then another layer of electrical tape, and I've never gotten any water in my connections, so I'll take care of that once I get that going. But no, my little antenna farm here, I still have my other end fed that goes up and over that way, so that's working out well too. So pretty soon all this will start to grow in, and I'll have to keep I have a brush cutting blade, and I'll have to keep all this whacked down. These vines literally will grow straight up, wrap onto the antenna, and climb to the other tree if I'm not careful. So, but yeah, it's been a lot of work, lots of things going on, and getting things done. Now, the update on the solar system that I have. Now, my last video I mentioned that I've got the 50-watt panel up. I'm using a Bioenno PMW is it I always forget, PMW or PWM. I think it's PWM. Solar controller. That solar controller I think is $49.99. But since it's just a single solar panel and a single battery, I'm not worried. I know I'd get a little bit more power with an MPPT charge controller, and I would like one that does all the tracking that shows how much solar I've got in and how much solar the batteries used, and how to balance out. I only have 1 meter right now, and I'm keeping track of what I've done is I've hooked the meter up, turned all my radios on, both Raspberry Pis, and I'm pulling about 1.5 amps. And that battery is a 12 amp hour battery, so that gives me about 8 hours of use. I've been keeping an eye on how much solar I've been taking in. I've been running the battery down a little bit so I can at least get some solar throughout the day. We had a very rainy day. It was overcast the entire day. It rained. We got almost 1 inch of rain. The sun peeked out of the clouds every once in a while, but it was very rare. But even when it was raining and it was cloudy, I was still getting almost 0.5 amp. And over the course of the day, that added up, plus the sun came out. On that day, I got almost 5 amp hours of power back into my battery. Now, if that battery was completely drained, obviously that's not enough, but that's enough to operate for a few more hours. And like today, I was working today, I wasn't on the radio, it fully charged my battery up. In the morning, by about 8:30, I'm already starting to see power come into the solar panel. And it just gets stronger throughout the day. So it has been fantastic. I was thinking about mounting another panel and getting a bigger battery and all this other stuff. But for right now, I think that's what I'm going to go, just stay with that. Now, when the winter comes and you're not getting as much solar, I may need more power. I may need to supplement that with grid power. But right now, it's working and it's providing plenty of power. I have a 4-hour drill coming up this weekend. It's the simulated emergency test, which involves all the counties in this region. I think it's nationwide, but I know in our region, every county, the whole way up the west side of Pennsylvania, they're all involved. We'll be sending voice and digital messages through FLDigi. I think there'll be some WinLink stuff going on and some other stuff. But it's a big event. It goes for 4 hours. I'm net control for most of it, and I'll be watching everything. So I'll have 2-meter radios, HF radios, Raspberry Pis receiving digital. I'll have everything on, and we'll see how long I go on that battery. Now, if I start to run out of battery power, I can switch right over to grid power just by moving one cord over and turning on my power supply, and then I'll be set. I won't have to worry about it. But I'm going to run that way, and we'll see how much solar I get in on that day. I'm not sure what the weather's going to be like, but if the weather's good, I'll probably have plenty of power. The most amps I've seen come in out of the panel, the peak amps, has been 3.09 amps, which with my 12 amp hour battery, it'll recharge that battery in 4 hours completely if it was completely dead. But hopefully I'll never run that battery completely dead. But the solar project has been going fantastic. I've been very excited. It's really nice to have that type of capability in my shack now. It's just nice being able to operate off of the grid power, which is pretty cool to do, if I should say so myself. It's something I've wanted to do for a long time. I keep saying, I'm sorry. It's something that I've wanted to do for a long time, and now that I have it, I'm loving it. I'm enjoying using it, even though I don't really have to. That's how I'm going to operate from now on, as long as I can. If I need some grid power to supplement that, I'll do that. Obviously, if we get a week long of bad weather and no sun, I'm sure I'll still get some solar, and I may have to budget how much power I'm using. And that's what I'll do. My plan is to use, I only run QRP, so I'm really not using a lot of power when I'm transmitting anyhow. Now for VHF and UHF, that radio, when I transmit, I am using a little bit more power. I'm using about 10 watts out of that radio, but it draws more power when you transmit 10 watts on FM, because that's a it's frequency modulated. So it's a solid signal. It's not like single sideband where it's modulated. So it'll be very interesting to see, because I think that'll use the most power, and that's what I'll be on most for the simulated emergency test. But, well, I hope you guys enjoyed this short video. The sun's going down here. Augie's having one last run around the yard, and I'm going to go inside and get ready for our 2-meter net, where I can talk about the upcoming SET drill and hopefully get more people involved and prepared for the drill. I hope you liked the video. If you did, give me a thumbs up. This is Tango Oscar Mike 73. Take care. Come on, Augie. Augie, come. Come on. Come on. Come on, bud. Atta boy. You ready to go in?
Tango Oscar Mike